Hello everyone! Today we will talk about the new teaser that has made a lot of noise on the internet, and talk about the new characters. But let's go through all the criteria in order. Before starting the video, subscribe to the channel, like and turn on the notification. This is necessary for the video to appear in the recommendations. Well, let's start the appearance of new characters in the digital circus. As we saw when Pomni, Jack and Regatta went to Kaufmo's room, they passed through many rooms. What are these rooms? Let's go through everything in order. About 6 doors are crossed out. The character includes a dog, a fluffy worm, a ball-shaped jester, a pink fluffy cyclops, a black queen, and another one. But this corner of the door does not allow me to see what it is. So, in the digital circus, there were 12 residents, not counting Kane and his NPC, and 7 of them were abstracted, presumably. Maybe I would have thought that some of them might be lost in the void, but I returned to that scene in the basement, and I think there were about 6 pairs of eyes there. It's hard to say, because they have a lot of them. That's when it gets very strange to me. There were 12 residents in the circus, and Pomni was the 13th person to enter the circus. There is some strangeness in her, especially because the exit appeared in front of her again and again. She apparently healed herself from the glitch, but then we have the dinner scene at the end of the episode, which seemed like an obvious reference to the Last Supper, minus the 7 apostles, with Pomni in the place of Jesus. Although in the original work only 5 people sat with Jesus, the others stood. The fact that Cain was named after the first killer, traitor, implying that there is Abel somewhere, seems that someone for some reason uses Christian themes here. The fact that Pomni was Jebus is disturbing, because Jebus was mostly tortured to death and returned. The rooms of the characters crossed out in the digital circus are the rooms of the people who entered the virtual reality game and went insane and were abstracted. Abstraction is a process that occurs when a person loses their sanity and identity in the digital world and becomes a distorted creature. The crossed out signs on the doors mean that the person who lived in that room is no longer human and has been taken by the void. You think the previous characters, the ones that have an X crossed out in the rooms, might have been beta testers employees that used to work in C and AA's the title states. You think the crossed out previous characters might have been employees from C and A? Well, some of them, not all of them. Basically, beta testers in the game, in which they find bugs and glitches to it. Now, I don't know how plausible is this theory, because when Pomni entered, she couldn't even remember her name. So how would the beta testers would remember when they took off the headset to report the bugs and glitches from the digital circus, or their co-workers, when being inside of the game, or getting out for that matter? I wonder if they could have never resolved as to why players get memory loss when entering the game the first time. Maybe Cain has something to do with that? And once they have proved their usefulness, they suddenly get abstracted when finding out they can't go back to the real world now? Anyway, what do you think? Leave your detailed theories and explanations in the comments below. So as I was re-watching TADC for like the 20th time, I noticed the crossed out doors of what I'm assuming are past members of the digital circus, who probably abstracted, and noticed a sort of similar trend between them and the current cast. Those trends being chess pieces, animals, toys, clowns, assortment of parts, and what I'm calling emotions. Now these can be used to identify the main cast, Kinger being the chess piece, Jax being the animal, Regatta being the toy, Pomni being the clown, Zubul being the assortment of parts, and finally Gangle being the emotion. Now how does this fit into the whole past cast thing? Well, we can sort the people on the doors into those categories as well, and going from left to right in the picture provided here are the sortings. The purple guy with what looks like a jester hat fits into clown. The pink guy was hard for me, but I can stretch it to say, due to their open mouth, they could be gluttony or hunger making them emotion. The yellow dog obviously fits into the animal category. Next is the worm on a string, which again is obviously a toy. The purple one on the far right is a bit hard to make out, but from what I can see, it looks to be an assortment of parts. Then we have the queen chess piece, which falls into the chess piece category. Then we have another clown character with the yellow guy there. Next is what appears to be some kind of mouse, so that's another animal. The last 2 are a bit too blurry to categorize, but I think it could be another animal, and then another assortment of parts. So where is all of this leading? Well, I think there can only be one character per category at one time. My main example for this would be that Pomni a clown appeared around the same time Kaufmo abstracted, to therefore in a way replacing them as the new clown. This could mean that before Kinger the Queen Price was the chess piece, and then abstracted and the next person to come along therefore became a chess piece, which is now Kinger. Since it's the digital circus, and the opening shot framed it in a sort of old video game style, we could interpret this as a sort of character select thing, where since the categories are already chosen, the only next and only available one would be the recently abstracted one. So the essentially like if 4 people are playing Mario Kart, and there are only 4 characters, one of the people stop playing. And when you go to play in their place, you have to play as what they played, as if that makes sense. Actually, I don't have it. I just found it strange that the character on the door and the figure in the Blister carousel by Gooseworks have a close resemblance. Blister Carousel was released after the release of The Amazing Digital Circus, and it had a story which could suggest how this figure, which I will call Blister from here, could get into this world. There is a moment when Pomni pauses for a moment in the doorway to see an endless carousel in an endless void. In the description of the Blister Carousel, there is a story about how Randolph Naetsess died. If you leave aside the funny story, which could suggest how Blister could get here and who he could have been before, the final part is reminiscent of an empty room, how a carousel was erected in his honor, possibly when he was abstracted, and was constant with how his memories were lost in the ocean, which could be an analog of this void. I don't know. This is just one of my nightly tangents that I understood after watching the TADC and Gooseworks videos. This is a figure that looks like the one who, as I suppose, is Blister, with his image crossed out. Description of the Blister Carousel. Pomni entering the carousel room. Carousel rooms. A figure is depicted in the Blister Carousel, which is somewhat similar to the figure on the door in TADC. There are also many drawbacks to this idea, as the story of the Blister Carousel seems to be completely... So let's continue. Let's draw conclusions. What you just heard crossed out. Photos of characters are abstracted characters who went crazy. There is a theory that these are characters who escaped from the digital circus, but so that other characters did not do, as they made the remaining part. Character code, in a crazy code that beats everyone and does what he wants. Maybe there is a way to restore the memory and personality of the abstracted characters, if you find their original data in the digital lake or in other parts of the game. Maybe that's why Kane keeps the abstracted characters in the basement void. According to my theory, those characters who were in the basement and watched how Kaufmo also throw the basement are the escaped characters. Well, that's all for now. Subscribe to the channel, like and turn on notifications.